Hello and welcome to Government Secrets. I don't do the sound effects that Graham does.
Episode 6. Beep, 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 beep.
Do you have any idea how many years of Juilliard he had to go through to get those down? Get just perfect.
Literally, John Houseman's ghost came back to teach me how to go. Beep, beep, beep.
I think it was Michael Winslow from Police Academy. You almost got that role. You were so close to getting that role.
I mean, he was like magna cum laude, and I was like signa cum laude or whatever. And I was like, he deserved it. I really wanted to be in the police story.
And the script said young black man from urban area. And you were like, I can play this role. I was born for this.
I'm such a good actor. I can do it. All I got to do is grab a microphone. You know, like, how hard is this?
Anyway, so here's what we're going to be talking about today. In a bit, I'd like to get into who actually killed Martin Luther King Jr. Not sure if you heard of him. He was kind of a big deal. But first, I thought we'd start off with, because I think this show serves two purposes. It's kind of the big government secrets that, from the past, from years gone by, and also kind of the hidden side of things that are very current. So I thought we'd chat about just how awesome Kamala Harris is, because that's what's in the news right now. And I know you're as thrilled as I am, I'm sure.
Yes, I'm so glad that the person that refused to prosecute Steve Mnuchin and George Soros, who were owners of One West Bank when she was Attorney General, who just mysteriously got also money from them for her both of her campaigns, Attorney General and Senate campaigns. I'm glad that she's in charge. And then Joe Biden tweets out that she's going to fight the banks. It's comical what's happening in our
comical
country.
Harris. I like it. Yeah, I mean, because I knew you'd be excited, because I remember you saying, I don't care at all what they stand for, just black woman. That is it. I don't care. She could just hate everybody and bomb children, and I'm cool with it. Just black woman. Yeah,
as long as, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that she put 120,000 black people behind bars as Attorney General. Just,
I didn't actually, did she actually follow through with it, or just said she wanted to lock up parents of truant children? Like your asshole kid doesn't go to school on time and they're locking you up.
Your asshole. Your kid is an asshole.
I mean,
let's be honest.
Listen, I'm all for a sit down where we're like, hey, listen, your kid really kind of a douche, but not prison time.
Well, I mean, the list of wonderful things goes on and on with her. There's that wonderful video of her giving a speech where she mocks people that want more schools and less prisons, where she goes, more schools, less prisons.
Yes. I played that clip on the video I did, where she's like, they go out there with their little signs. You're like, don't make prison. I mean, don't make prisons, make schools or whatever. And so she mocks that. And then she goes, but they're not answering why I have 3 locks on my door. And you're like, you fucking asshole. You don't have 3 locks on your door because there's not enough prisons and too many schools.
I know.
You have 3 locks on your door because of massive inequality. Like, that is where most street crime comes from, is just immense inequality where people end up in pretty dire situations.
Yeah, and it's also like, that doesn't answer. No, it does. You just answered your own question. If we had better schools, you probably wouldn't need 3 locks. Right. Not to mention the wealth inequalities that you're talking about. I mean, look, she won't prosecute the ruling class, and she loves throwing poor people in jail. I mean, she's been doing that. I mean, as district attorney in San Francisco, there was around 2009 or 10, there was a whole pedophile priest case.
Just that one.
Just that one time. One couple of bad apples. They sealed it off.
They got the bad apples, and now the bad apples just touch each other in a sealed room.
It's totally great. Totally great. The Catholic Church, it wasn't globally a global cover-up.
I've often said I'm so glad that wasn't systemic.
Yes, it's not systemic. Look, I don't see pedophiles. I just, it's the same insane argument.
I'm very woke. I don't see age. So
yeah, it's great.
Any age, that's consent. That's legit to me.
Yeah, as long as the cat, and then we got the couple bad apples, and we can all go to bed and rest easy. Jerry Sandusky wasn't getting kids for alumni. He was just one bad apple that they slipped through the cracks. But when she was district attorney in San Francisco, she wouldn't release the names of the priests that had been prosecuted. And the people were like, why not? And her and her office said, well, we want to protect the victims. The head of a victims' rights organization, an organization, all victims of pedophile priest abuse, said, what are you talking about? This doesn't hurt us at all. We're all publicly saying we're victims. We want and the public needs to know who these people are, because it's a threat. Because the Catholic Church, as we know, especially from the Spotlight movie, and that they shuffle these guys around.
And I read that she ultimately stopped responding to the victims groups, like wouldn't speak to them.
Won't speak to them. Like, that's who she is. And it's like, who's been, of all the candidates in the Democratic primary, who got the most from billionaires? Kamala Harris.
Yeah. And the other thing I was just reminded of, which I had totally forgotten about, didn't even put it in my video about this, is she had said, it was either on a radio show or a podcast, she was like, yeah, well, you remember the take a knee Kaepernick thing? That was mainly furthered by Russia. That was mainly Russian bots putting that stuff forward. Wow. She literally was like, the Kaepernick take a knee movement was Russia.
Oh, that makes sense, because it's not like there's been slavery and oppression of black people for 400 years in this country. So that makes sense that it just...
and they apparently, because Kaepernick had surgery on that knee, and they had put metal plates in. Apparently, the metal plates were filled with Russian bots. So the Russian bots actually made him bend down on his knee, and he was like, "No!" And he just down on a knee. So. That's
such a Russian move. Such a Russian move to put very bots Russian in a guy's knee to make him take a knee. Yeah, I get it. It's her legacy is so insane. And when people go, oh, you're just saying that because you don't want a black woman in power, I go, I'd love to see Nina Turner in power. And they usually go, who? And I go, oh, the black woman that the DNC wouldn't let speak at the convention in 2016. And
Nina Turner, guess who else is a woman of color? Tulsi Gabbard.
Yep.
They're not even allowing her on MSNBC anymore.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And I'm just like, you're so hypocritical. Like, where was your outrage when the Democratic Party said a black woman can't speak at their convention? Where was your outrage?
Or when they gave AOC 60 seconds.
Yes. It's like
they just announced Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is going to get 60 seconds at the DNC, I guess, virtual event. They couldn't allot more than 60 seconds.
Well, this is good because they're going to do it virtually, because they can just put her mama bear quote below her. So no matter what she's saying, they'll make sure that she's acquiescing to the power structure of the corporate Democrats.
Yeah. They're going to put some crazy chyron underneath her.
It's just said Mama Bear #1 fan club or whatever.
It's just scrolling underneath. It's blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. It's unbelievable how and I was watching CNN, and they had this panel, and they were all up in arms about Tucker Carlson mispronouncing her name. And he was like, yeah, whatever, let's talk about her policies. And sure, is he doing that intentionally to be a racist or whatever? Maybe. It's Fox News. Like, of course, and even if he is, and sure, it's a valid thing to say, oh, wow, women of color and, but it gets spoken down to, okay, fine. That should be part of the conversation.
But then also, that's the racist thing Tucker Carlson has done.
Yeah, that's the worst thing anyone over at Fox News
has ever said. That is the least racist thing Tucker Carlson's ever done.
I know. It's unbelievable. And then they let's talk to these panel of experts, and it's all former Clinton strategist, and you're like, oh, well, this is a great 10-minute segment because we're not going to talk about all the people she put behind bars for smoking a plant. We're not going to talk about all the other stuff that she's done. She won't be held accountable for anything great. It's another identity politics going to overtake the real discussions of voting record and where she gets her money from. Because she voted to confirm Steve Mnuchin as the head of One West Bank. And no one over at CNN or MSNBC can go, well, he donated to her campaign and she didn't prosecute him. Don't you think that's odd? No one's going to ask that question. They're just going to say, Tucker Carlson mansplains. And it's
and yet again, it's like Biden and Kamala Harris represent the way America functions. Like they are like a great metaphor where you put forward one is an actual person of color. The other, Biden, runs around saying, I care so much about black people. Oh my goodness. Oh, black people love me. He said on that radio show, he said, every black person loves me. I'm the most beloved in the black world ever. And, he's saying all this stuff. And that's what's said. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, what's not getting mentioned is that he's put forward the most racist policies, the things that have locked up more black people than ever before, doubled the prison population. Kamala Harris wouldn't release people from California prisons, even when they were overcrowded, and they said we have to release some nonviolent criminals. And she's like, no, we need her office at least is like, no, we need the labor. So these incredibly racist policies, but on the front, it's like, look how non-racist and loving we are.
Oh, I just, like, the first time it was announced, I was like, oh, great. The author of the 1994 crime bill and the person that uses, puts 120,000 people of color behind bars, they're joining up. This will be fantastic. And the other thing too, that's so, like, is anyone going to talk about this? I'm sure we will, because we're, fires have just started in California. It's fire season now. There's a huge fire up here.
Oh, you just started your fire festival.
We just started our fire festival, which you can buy a bungalow for 10 grand.
Which by the way, I feel like LA is going the way of fire festival. It's just
for sure. Like
it's almost to the point where they're like, we'll rent you this mattress on the ground for $3,000.
Yes. And then you're going to get there and it's just going to be a soggy pillow.
What? There's a lot of why is this wet going around.
But getting to the brush fire thing, to be real clear, she used prison labor to fight the fires. And
they're still doing that.
They're still doing that. And when these guys get out on parole, their parole's over, their good behavior, it's all, their records are done. They can never get a job with any fire department.
Yeah.
Yet they put their lives on the line. And isn't this what rehabilitation is supposed to be in our?
And they're getting like $1 a day when they're doing it.
Yes. So they got paid slave wages. They put their lives on the line. And this is what, wouldn't you want this to be like, hey, this young guy got mixed up with a bad crowd. He had a bad childhood, whatever. He went to prison. He learned his lesson. He fought fires. He put himself on, all right, he's done his time. He's paid his debt to society. And now he has a valuable skill. We need firefighters, especially in brush fire season. So let's give him a job and make him a productive member of society. Nope, he can't get a job. Gee, I wonder if then he'll have to go back to crime.
Because there's a law saying you can't be a firefighter if you've got a criminal record, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's completely fucked. And I remember back during the last California fire season or whatever, or maybe it was 2 ago. I love how every year they go, there's a historic fire season. And you're like, yeah, everyone is a historic fire season. Do you get it? Do you see a pattern? But anyway, when I was covering it last year or something, I showed this NBC report or CBS report where they're like, I'm out here and I'm in the middle of it and there's fires. And as you see, the moment that a fire pops up, these firefighters arrive on the scene and they start trying to deal with it. And it shows these firefighters in the background. And you can tell, because I, Googled the uniforms and things, you can tell that what they're not mentioning is now out of the 13 firefighters they show running to put out this fire, all except one of them are inmates. They're in the inmate firefighter outfits. Like, and so it's like, really, NBC News that flew a guy out to the front of these fires to do a report on this couldn't say, hey, by the way, these are fucking prisoners we've got doing this.
Yeah. It's like no one calls it out because look, Kamala and Joe Biden get money from the private prison industry. And that's what part of this is all about. That's why we have the 94 crime bill that was signed into law by Bill Clinton. And the private prison industry, I mean, I could do a separate government secret on this. I did a video on it of how the private prison industry in 1989 had a secret meeting with a bunch of record executives saying, we really want to push gangster rap because we'll get more criminal behavior. We'll get more people for prisons. Like the private prison industry paid for this to happen. And the CIA, I'm sure, was involved as well. And it's like, we have such a broken system that then this is, somebody I saw put online, they like put a photo of two different dumpster fires. And they're like, Trump Pence or Biden Harris. Like, these are the choices. And it's insane. It's just the lesser of two corporate oligarch.
And the only people trying to put out the dumpster fires are inmates.
Yes.
That's how fucked it is.
I mean, I don't know. Like, let me ask you this. How do you see this election playing out?
Well, one portion of it that I just tweeted about, which I mean, to me, it's obvious now. It's like you kind of saw it coming, but now it's clear as day, and very few people are talking about it. Okay, so we've got the mass purge of people on the rolls. Some alternative media have been talking about that. 1 out of every 12 voters has been purged. And most of the ones that are going to vote will go vote thinking they haven't been purged. So then they get into a fight at the voting booth. Right. They sign a placebo ballot or whatever the fuck. And it creates a lot of chaos on that regard. But then on top of that, you have the pandemic. You have that's going to slow everything down. You have people mailing in ballots. Trump realizes this, so he's trying to say, oh, mailing's all a fraud. But he also, it just came out today or yesterday, that he's put his new guy at the head of the post office, and they have already said they're turning off something like 13 or 20% of all the mail sorting machines on election day, so that basically the mail-in ballots, or from here till election day, so the mail-in ballots they won't be able to process them at any good speed. So it's going to be chaos is what's going to happen on election night. Trump wants that. He knows he's going to, if it were straight vote count, he knows he's likely to lose. So it's going to be mass chaos. And the media is not saying, hey, for once, we're not going to know who the winner is on election night. Like, this is going to take a while to count this number of mail-in ballots, more than we've ever seen before. We just can't expect to know who the winner is on election night. They're not saying that. So Trump is going to run out and say he won no matter what. It doesn't matter what happens. He's going to say he won. And there'll be people running around saying, no, we haven't counted him yet or whatever. But all he needs is enough chaos that in the days after, the following day, that he can run around saying he won. And here's the thing, is the Democrats use this exact same trick against Bernie Sanders in Iowa, right? Yes. They knew that they didn't need to win Iowa. They just needed to make sure Bernie Sanders could not walk away with a legit victory. And so they created mass chaos with the Shadow app that was completely faulty, that they invented 2 months beforehand. And it was chaos. And they said, we don't know who's won. And the Buttigieg walks out and says he's won, and whatever. And it's exactly, they succeeded in what they wanted, which was just mass chaos. Bernie couldn't declare a victory, done. And that's what Trump knows he needs. He needs chaos so he can declare victory.
The thing I agree with all that. The thing I will add to that is I think it's even a little more sinister than that. I was
thinking that was a little too genuine. It was really, it was loving and moral, and I was hoping you'd throw a wrench in the gears.
As much as that, your scenario makes me sleep well at night.
Let me guess, Graham. Your scenario involves MRAPs.
How did you guess, Lee? So I think they're going to use this because Trump knows that if he does that, and the powers that be that just sort of let Trump be crazy because they're like, oh, when he does this crazy shit, we can use it for this advantage and that advantage. So when he says that there's going to be chaos, there's going to be protesting, we already know, we had a nice preseason of police brutality warm-ups in the last couple of months of the George Floyd protests, and we saw, oh, this is how they're going to do it. They're going to have unmarked vans, and people are going to go bananas, right? They're going to go bananas, and I think that many of us are like, when is like a real revolution going to happen? Like, all these protests are great, but when are they going to just realize we're all screwed? It doesn't matter. Biden and Harris are going to have unmarked vans snatch you up off the streets too if they get in the White House. Like, I don't think they get that. The MAGA hat people don't understand that they can get snatched up off their streets. So when all this chaos happens, people are going to take to the streets after the election, and it's going to be nuts. And they're going to thrive off this chaos. And what I've seen, I live near the beach, and so that you see helicopters when you're surfing and at the beach all the time. I've seen way more military helicopters in the air the last several weeks. I think they are hoping for, and they will use the chaos as an excuse to lock everything down into martial law. That's what they're going to do. That's my.
I don't doubt that could happen. I don't like to assume, martial law without, I don't know, seeing more that it seems like that's going to happen, but I wouldn't deny it could.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I hope I'm wrong.
I mean, the thing is that I do think might be part of their consideration is not Trump's. Trump is too dumb to think this way, but part of the kind of more state apparatus consideration is that sometimes you overreact to these things and you create more protest. You create more mass demonstration to a level that they can't control. And so I don't know that their first go-to is going to be like, just, put MRAPs on the streets and black bag people. Right. Because, I mean, even in Portland, you saw a bigger response once that started happening. I mean, Occupy, I don't know if we'd know the word Occupy if it weren't for the fact that they arrested 700 people on the Brooklyn Bridge and that viral video of women already kettled getting tear gassed. Right. If it weren't for the overreaction of the cops, Occupy very well might have been 2 weeks, a blip on the radar instead of what it became. So I think some of them think about that. I don't know that they just immediately think like, well, we get out the zip ties.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, but I think yeah. I mean, and we saw that the first week of the George Floyd protest versus the second and third weeks, the cops kind of pulled back a little bit because they realized, wow. They were showing up, they were creating the riots, and more people were seeing this online, more people were taking to the streets. And so I do think that part of them are like, oh, if we react too hard, more people, but I think they're going to they're kind of like, because that first week of the George Floyd protest, that was the week I thought, oh, this is it. This is where we're like, they were burning trees around the White House. Like, this is, they took over the Capitol building in Seattle. And I thought,
Eleanor Goldfield was out there filming when they were out there in front of the White House. I mean, I was there other days, but that day when they were burning, some people started lighting trees on fire, and then you could hear on the camera other protesters go out and put out the fires, and then the people that lit them were like, "What, dude? Why are you doing that? I just lit that." And the other guys being like, "They're trees, man. What? Don't put out the fires." Like. I just love the disagreement between the two. Like, but trees are our friends. Yeah, like fire.
The environmentalist just was like, well, I'd like to burn this to the ground, but trees, they're good for the environment. It's funny if the fire guys would have just gone, we'll turn it into compost. Then maybe they would go, oh, okay. And they would have come to some sort of agreement.
That might have come together. Well, yeah, I mean, I certainly hope you're not right about martial law, but for people who don't think there's a difference between Biden and Trump, I will say that I think in a Biden and Harris administration, the black bags would probably be lavender scented.
I agree. And I think they would be real. And maybe the vans would have rainbow flags on them. And it would be
or one of those like disco vans, which got like lights and
yes,
like a bad bachelorette party or something.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? You get a tiara, it'll be fun, and a sash. And definitely the people in the Middle East will be like, oh, whew, thank God we're getting bombed by Biden and Harris. Like, this is the lesser of two evils. We feel so much better.
There was some cartoon going around of like, it's like two women in the Middle East, and like there's a drone bomb coming down, and one of them says to the other, like, soon I hear that it's going to be a black woman's going to be dropping the drone bombs. And the other woman says, like, oh, I'm excited to be part of history.
Oh, yes. Yeah. We are in insane times. The next, whatever it is, 2.5 months are going to be pretty nuts.
But then it should all settle down.
Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be great. No, everybody.
I think because people will be tired out and ready to just enjoy a day at the pool, you know?
Yeah, because that's the other thing too. If Biden and Harris get in the White House, okay, great. Trump's gone. I'll be like, awesome. The 28 million evictions are still coming. Like,
oh yeah. No, well, that I haven't even begun like thinking or talking about that, but it's like, okay, so Biden gets in the White House and then economic collapse does not happen at that point?
Right.
Fucking kidding me?
Because even if he wins handily and Trump goes, you're right, I lost. Hey, we gave it a good run. He doesn't get sworn in until January. So that's November.
I've been thinking about that too. Can you imagine the childish, fucking megalomaniacal, I'm always winning Trump, what he's going to do during those 3 months? I mean, he will be walking around shitting on everything, like literally shitting on everything in the White House, like just trying to, fucking wipe his ass on everything he can.
And what are some of his crackpot supporters? What are they going to do? I mean, win or lose, they're going to go nuts one way or the other.
Go back to the meth bong.
I hope. Go back to the meth bong. We'll be right back with Go Back to the Meth Bong, ladies and gentlemen.
Everybody, like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell notification button and the subscribe button, even if you've done it before, because they're unsubscribing, many of you, every day. Watch the ads all the way through. If you click skip ad, I don't get paid. Also, support us at patreon.com/GrahamElwood or rockfin.com/GrahamElwood. Rockfin.com is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. All my videos are on Rockfin ad-free. Thanks for watching.